Welcome to Stuck in My Mind podcast, the show where we dive into the mind of a regular guy on his road to self-discovery. You'll hear everyday people just like you share the latest topics, personal stories, and things they've learned along the way. And now, please welcome your host, Wise.
And welcome to another episode. I am your host, W-I-Z-E. I have a very special guest on. He actually considers himself a Swiss Army knife. Welcome to the show. He's a former International Taekwondo Champion. He's an unrepentant geek like me. He's a special needs parent. I'm a special needs grandparent. Welcome to the show, Joe Templin. What's going on, Joe?
Wise. Glad to be here, man. Glad to be here. Looking forward to actually sitting down with you at some point in person too.
Oh, definitely. But like I was telling you before, I have family in that area. My nephew's over there, and I have some close friends that live over out there. So I go over there once in a while. So yeah, definitely, we can definitely link up and actually probably have you over at the studio and record something over there as well.
That'd be a blast.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So why do you consider yourself the Swiss Army knife?
So, I prefer that term as opposed to a Renaissance man because I can't even draw a straight line with a ruler. But I'm an autodidactic polymath in a lot of ways. So it doesn't matter. My background was applied physics. I went into finance, economics, behavioral and performance psychology. That's led into a lot of the writing, the consulting. So I have an incredibly eclectic background of skill sets and knowledge to be able to draw from when it comes down to helping myself and others.
Oh, okay. All right. So yes, you did mention writing. So you have a book, Everyday Excellence, which is was #1 on Kindle when it released in the professional development side.
Yep.
What made you write the book?
So the book was 40 plus years coming in that my mind is like a super saturated solution in that I just constantly put new stuff into it and it ended up crystallizing in this book. But I ended up writing this or starting this during the depths of COVID. And I was going through a divorce. I was going through issues with my kids because anybody who has teenagers knows that all teenagers have issues of various forms. So I was going through all of this, and I have always used writing as a way to sharpen my thoughts and try and communicate complex feelings. And so sitting down and actually going through the process of writing a book like this helped me in terms of laying a lot of my coping methodologies that I utilize. And hopefully, I can help other people along their journey simply because we are all struggling in some capacity at this point. So, hopefully, I can give others tools that they can use to be able to get through the rough patches.
No, you're absolutely right. It's a lot of people when the pandemic started. To me, I felt if you didn't learn something, like pick up some type of skill while you was being locked down or whatever, because that's what I did. I was never in media. I'm a table games dealer as profession, and but I had wanted to start a podcast, and I did my research. I spent a year basically lollygagging and not putting in forth. And then when I got uh furloughed from work, it forced me to step out of my comfort zone and do something and press record. And since then, I've learned how to edit podcasts. I learned how to edit video. I've been learning marketing, learning everything it takes for me to help grow my podcast. And it's growing slowly but surely. I'm getting guests on that are amazing. And at first, it was difficult. It was difficult. People would ghost me because I didn't have the numbers that they wanted, or because, like I said, I was starting out. So people, their first question was, how many listeners or viewers do you have? And I'm like, I just started a couple of months ago. I'm not really that high. And they're like, oh no. But then when I started growing and really just started focusing more on the podcast, it started growing and growing. Then people started reaching out to me. And so once that started happening, I'm like, all right, I got something here. People are listening, people want to be on the show. Let's keep going, let's keep doing it. And so it started during the height of the pandemic. And from there I've started a production company, launched the internet radio station. I'm working on some TV programming that we're about to sign a contract with. So it's a lot of different things going on, and it all started from me finally pressing record on the podcast.
Huh? And Peter Thiel's first book is called Zero to One because that infinite step from nothing to something is the hardest. And every great endeavor, whether it's a company, how many companies were started during the depths of depressions or recessions? Microsoft, Amazon, General Motors, Hyatt, Disney. Okay, these iconic brands were all started during the worst possible economic conditions. You know, is when get to rock bottom, that's really easy to build off of that foundation and build something strong that can truly grow to the sky. So I applaud you for, when the call that you did not want came from the boss or the email or whatever, you got up and said, "All right, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to try something new here." And it is that willingness to challenge yourself where growth and excellence lie.
Yeah, you're not kidding, man. It really is. You really have to take that step. You really have to make your, and that's why the name stuck in my mind, is because I was stuck in my own head for a year debating on whether I should start this or not. Or like, why would anybody want, I'm just making up any type of excuses, like why would anyone listen or
Yeah.
anything. And just to
And
be,
that's
and
completely normal. That's what everybody does.
yeah,
You know, we see this obstacle and our mind it becomes this giant wall, this huge mountain that we're not ready to try and overcome or find a way around. And when you actually commit and you start doing it, you're like, "Oh, this wasn't that bad." And even if it's, as horrible or even worse, you're like, "Well, I'm not going to stop." So the hardest part is to get going. You know, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, is the old adage, and it is for a reason. How many people, instead of taking that step, are still lying on the couch eating Cheetos?
yeah, absolutely. It is. And then when I, again, when I furloughed, I was receiving unemployment, and then the government was also sending some extra money. Instead of going out and spending that money on unnecessary stuff, what I did was I invested in quality equipment. I invested in programs to help me learn editing. I invested in programs on coaching on different subjects, because I knew it would help me become a better podcast. And that is
Ultimately,
my
you
goal.
invested in yourself.
Yes,
And
definitely.
that is the greatest investment that you can make ultimately.
Yeah. And so that's something I really truly believe in, is I'm going to invest in myself. I believe in myself. I feel in order for me to give my listeners quality content, I must improve. I can't just keep giving them the same stuff I gave them. I have to improve whatever it is, be it the quality of sound, be it the quality of video, or whatever it is. I have to improve because they're giving me something very precious, which is their time. And I need to give them
Exactly.
some value for their time.
And the 86,400 seconds that we have per day, Bill Gates has the exact same as a college kid. And so it is, how do we trade that off and what do we trade it for? Are we trading it for it basically like candy, mind candy, and useless thoughts and just, you know, passing entertainment? Or are we using it for something really critical? I mean, you had mentioned earlier that you're going to go see your 84-year-old mom. My dad's in his early 80s also. You know, spending time with them is important. spending time with your kids when they're little so that they feel loved and heard and can grow as quality human beings. That is not wasting time. You know, time spent at work, time spent working on your athletic endeavors so that you have more strength and stamina for things that come down the road. Uh, Learning to cook, spending time developing yourself spiritually. These are all quality investments and should be done on a regular, if not even daily basis, so that we can overcome you know, the entropy of the world that's trying to bring us down. And that's the natural tendency if we're not expending intelligent effort to make things better on a regular basis.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That you definitely have to improve yourself. You have to want to make things for yourself better, and by doing that, it's reading books, finding yourself a mentor, finding people who surround yourself with people who want more and better things, not just are comfortable where they're at. They're trying to develop and grow as people. So you surround yourself with people that are with that kind of energy. And once I flipped my energy and switched it to being more positive, being more productive, I started attracting those people into my life. So it's helped me
Hmm.
build my surroundings and build the people around me and the people that I'm allowing into my life. It's helped me because now I have more support. I have people cheering me on. I have people who have my back. And it's crazy
You have
because
people who push you also too.
yes,
And a
yeah, they
real
do.
friend wants what's best for you, even if it hurts. And
Yeah,
so I have somebody who's really close to me, and she's like, I just want people around me that make me feel good and make me happy all the time. And it's like, no, that's not a friend. That's an enabler for an addict. That
it is.
is allowing you to live in a fantasy. Friends want what is best for you, even when it hurts. Friends push you. There's an old adage that champions want to be coached. And so, if you surround yourself with people that are willing to challenge you, especially when you're doing things that are not in your best long range interest, that is really what friendship is based on. And that is using your environment and designing your environment, at least social environment, to force you to improve overall. And if you look at cohorts, these groups of people who like went to school together or in the military together that continue to push each other over time, they outproduce because they have different strengths and weaknesses, but they have a shared goal of making the individuals in the group better so that they can celebrate the successes long range. And so finding people like that who are different than you, but have a similar great vision and are willing to push each other, that is one of the keys to excellence right there.
No, it is. It is. You're absolutely right. But it's crazy because like you would think some of the people most closest to you would be some of your biggest supporters. And in a lot you would think you would think that. But I've come to realize the people that I'm networking with, the people that I've connected with, the people that I've attracted into my life, they are huge supporters. They're my biggest cheerleaders. They're the ones like, yo, I see what you're doing. I see the work you're putting into. Keep going, boy. And you have
It's
family members
because,
that won't even.
people remember where we came from, and us succeeding and getting out of the not great situation, whether it's, the poverty or the, neighborhood or the depression, makes them feel bad about themselves because they're not willing to do the difficult things and to go through the uncomfortable components to get out of it. So the example is like the buck crab. The crab's trying to climb out, and all the other ones keep
My
drawing
crabs,
them
they keep
down
on pulling back.
so that
Yeah.
none of them win. And the finding people from other buckets who have escaped that are reaching down to try and pull you up, that care, that want to see you succeed, with, together with them or on your own. That is one of the best things possible. And so problem is that when you reach down to try and help others, if they're trying to drag you down, you need to pull your hand back, because it's like when on the airplane the oxygen masks come down, they say take care of yourself before
So
you take
yeah,
care of others. When you're trying to take care of others and they're just trying to take and take, as opposed to create a symbiotic successful relationship, that's when you need to be able to walk away, and it can really hurt.
no, I was absolutely there's people in your life that their energy is just draining. They're just
Mhm.
there to take, and not give nothing back to you. And those are the people you need to cut off. No matter how much it hurts, sometimes you need to cut off people that you really do care about.
Yeah. Have
But
you ever read the book Why Nations Fail? It's written by
no,
a couple of economists. And really, it comes down to nations that succeed have a constructive, interactive, growth oriented position where everyone can participate, as opposed to an extractive sort of setup, whether politically or economically, where a few elites get the vast majority of stuff. And so there's crumbs for everybody. And you're going to see in some of your relationships, you have that extractive person whose favorite radio station is WIIFM, What's in It for Me, where they're always trying to take and it's all about them, versus having a much more constructive, open environment where we win as a team, where I'm going to help you at some point, maybe you'll help me, but it is more giving oriented. And because of that, the entire pie grows much faster. And so no one person is truly dominating it and getting the disproportional rewards, but a lot of people are having a lot more success. And ultimately, that produces a sustainable relationship, company, and society.
yeah, yeah. It's for me. It's crazy because when you when people cheer you on and support you and have your back, and like with me, I'm supportive of all my friends. Either it's sharing, or if there's a book, I'll go purchase their book. It's just it's just support. It's for me. It's if if I can't buy nothing, but I can share whatever they posted that's of value, then I share it.
Right.
And that's all it takes. Sometimes that's all it takes is for someone to share what you have. And some people think that you're in competition with them. I don't compete with anyone. I compete with myself. I compete to make myself better. I don't compete with anyone else. I don't do what
And we
anyone
can all
else does.
together. Your win's going to be a little different than my win, but you know what? If we're both doing better, that's something that should be celebrated.
That's
And
a
I
win-win
can
for both.
learn,
Yeah.
hey, how are you doing this? What are your insights? Because they might not exactly apply to me, but I can take some of those concepts and modify them to my personal success. And that is something that Ben Franklin talked about 300 years ago with the junta, which was a group of business people who were there trying to make a better community and success for each other. And ultimately, that was one of the things that helped key off the growth of Philadelphia as the leading city in the United States before we were the United States. It was because you had these individuals who were focused on developing themselves, but helping to develop each other.
Yeah. And that's one thing with the podcasting community. I've realized that this is especially the independent podcasters. They they're wonderful. They like I have people I can reach out to that with our podcasts are similar, but they're still willing to share whatever knowledge they have with me, especially if they've been doing it longer than I have, and they know that I can use some help. I've had people reach out and be like, "Hey, dude, do this, do this, do this," and they didn't have to do that. And to be able to have the networks, especially here in the podcasting community, to have these networks, it's been a blessing. It's been something that's helped me grow my business, grow myself as well. And so I just try to give back as much as possible. When I see someone who needs help, I'll reach out and be like, hey, you doing this wrong, or in my opinion, you can do this, and it might help you. And that's it. And I just I try to do what people have done for me.
One of the things my mom taught me was when you're having a bad day, go help somebody. So if you're focused on serving others and helping them, then the natural effect of that is that you're going to grow, you're going to develop, and you're going to build a lot of really good karma. I mean, Muhammad Ali said that service to others is the rent that we pay for our life here on earth. And it's a great attitude to have because having that orientation, even if somebody's a jerk to you or somebody takes from you or what have you, if 75% of your interactions are neutral or positive, guess what? You're going to change your mindset. You're going to change your outlook. We have something called our reticular activation system, Tony Robbins talks about, which is literally the filters in our head. It is the programming that we have developed through our own actions. And if you're continuously focusing on trying to serve and help others, you're going to improve no matter what. And your situation is going to improve. And that's the rising tides lift all ships
Those
sort of
ships, yeah.
mindset, because helping them is ultimately going to help you. And it's a 1+1 = 3 sort of symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. It's definitely been, the more that I realize, the more that I help people, I receive more blessings, I receive more opportunities. And so that's what I do. I just try to help as many people as possible. Like even with my podcast, when I first started, it wasn't fun for me because I wasn't doing the content that I'm doing now. It's not me sitting down with people to share positive stories or share positive content. It was more me ranting about not being able to work, being locked down, complaining about politics, complaining about the George Floyd situation and everything else. And I loved the fact that I loved the podcast, doing podcasts, but I just didn't love the content. And so when I decided to switch it to what it is now, where I interview people so that they can share their stories, because maybe someone might need to hear that story that at a particular time, then that's when I really truly fell in love with this. That's when I really
Right.
realized this is
Is
what I really want to do.
negativity and controversy gets a lot of attention,
Yes.
but on the surface. Whereas the positive, the helpful, where you've evolved things towards is not going to be as broadly appealing, but the people who listen are going to have such a different impact on them. You're going to be much more helpful. You're going to be much more motivating. They're going to actually do things instead of just bitching and moaning. And so, even though you're not reaching necessarily as broad of an audience, the way that you can resonate with them is much stronger. And so, the impact that you have is potentially orders of magnitude greater.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this is why I do it, is to be able to have these conversations, because you never know. I've had people reach out to me and say, "Hey, listen, I heard this episode. Thank you. I needed to hear that episode." And that to me is a great feeling inside, to be able to know that I helped change someone's life. I had me and a friend of mine from high
Awesome.
school. We did an episode. He is one of the hottest real estate agents, brokers, whatever, in New York City. And so we sat down, and one of the things we discussed was goal setting, manifesting what we want, basically what we were doing to gain the success that we were gaining. And another friend of ours heard the episode, reached out and said, listening to you guys, listening to two people I grew up with do things that that are bringing them success just inspired me to do something I was on the fence on. They were on the fence. They wanted to go into business for themselves, and they were on the fence about it. And to hear two friends that they know personally, that they grew up with, that I know these guys, to hear them talk about the success and what they do to be successful, inspired them to step out of their comfort zone and start that business.
That's so cool. That's
So
so cool.
so to have people reach out and tell you, like, listen, thank you. If one person, I'm if one person gets what I'm doing my job. That's how I look at it. That's just how I look at it. If one person can take anything from this episode, if anything that we talk about here can inspire someone to be better and be greater, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yep. So, speaking of that, what do you think your listeners could use today? How can we help them? What do you want to
Uh,
talk about?
we
I'm
have
here to
this
make
is
you look good.
we're having a great conversation now. Just being able to talk about the stuff we're talking now is what this is what I love to do, is just to be able to have quality conversations with people so that people can see, like, listen, we're all regular people. We all
Uh,
put on our shoes the same way, socks, everything. It's just some of us are doing something different. We're actually believing in ourselves, and again, it's something you touched on. It's programming. It's a lot of breaking the programming that's already up there, and reprogramming ourselves so that we are capable of doing the great things that we are able to do.
and it everybody thinks that it's these massive mindset changes or actions that we need to take, and it's not. It's these little things. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, said that well-being is no small thing, but it's made up of small steps. And the if I'm a comic book guy, Marvel Comics. So Deadpool in Deadpool 2 is talking with Colossus, and Colossus
Yeah.
is like 4 or 5 moments is all that it takes to decide if you're going to be a hero or a villain. For those of us without superpowers, it's 4 or 5 micro decisions every single day. We make about 10,000 micro decisions on a daily basis. And it's 4 or 5 of those that determine, is our arrow pointing down for the day or pointing up for the day. And Kahneman ended up receiving the Nobel Prize in economics for his analysis on behavioral decision making. And it really comes down to, on every decision that we're making, there's basically 2 buckets of potential outcomes. We can go and make the easy choice, and it feels good in the moment. Sitting on the couch watching The Bachelor eating Doritos instead of getting up and going for a walk, playing video games instead of studying for the exam, avoiding the difficult discussion with that other person because you're like, oh, I don't want to do it right now. And so you avoid it and things get slightly worse. And if you string together enough of these easy choices that have worse outcomes, you're going to end up with diabetes, you're going to with not fitting, you're going to end up with arthritis, smoking cigarette lead to lung cancer, you're going to get divorced, you're going to have all these bad things out of it because you're making too many of the easy choices. Flip
Yeah.
side of this, though, is you can do the more difficult thing right up front. There's activation energy, as we talk about in chemistry, where you got to climb up the hill. It's going to be more difficult. It's more difficult to study than it is to sit there and have fun. It's more difficult to eat healthy than it is to eat cheeseburgers and processed food. It's more difficult to look that person in the eye and say, hey, buddy, I love you. You're screwing up, than is to just sit back and be entertained by their bad actions. So it is doing the more difficult thing, choosing the harder path consistently. So those 4 or 5 micro decisions per day, making 4 or 5 better micro decisions will literally bend your curve and change the outcome of your life. And that is the reason for the design on the front of the book. It's not going to be all of a sudden you have instant overnight success. That rarely happens, but it's the grinding it out, the slightly better choice, the running slightly farther, the eating slightly healthier, the doing slightly more difficult work at work or in school, the getting slightly better playing the instrument, the slightly better learning the foreign language. Whatever skill set it is, excellence is a mindset that comes about from those micro decisions and continuously trying to push us. And do we have to be perfect? No. But if we can be better on average in terms of our choices today, we're going to end up in a better place tomorrow and next week. And it's that consistency of doing things slightly better, of having that vision of what we want to be and achieve, that translates into the in the moment saying, no, that's not the best choice for long range me. And that's what it comes down to ultimately being successful. And too often, you say we get stuck in our head because it's easy. We're scared. We're afraid. What are people going to say? You know what? People aren't going to care for the most part. So make the slightly more difficult. Try that thing that scares you a little bit, because guess
And
what?
that's the problem.
Even facing that fear,
No, go ahead. Even facing that fear.
even facing that fear, even if you don't succeed when you pick up the phone and call the pretty girl or call that potential client, even if they say no, guess what? The fact that you did it means that you have less fear in your life, meaning that you're better able to tackle whatever needs to be tackled, because bad things are going to come inevitably. Our parents get older, our physical health declines. The economy is going to do what the economy is going to do. So being able to face those micro fears consistently allows us to be able to have control over our own destiny.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with you 100% on that. That's something that I've learned over the years, and again, it's me. The self development is me reading books, me seeking out mentors, seeking out programs that I know. Because okay, not every book you read is gonna resonate with you. So you take out
Right.
whatever in that book that resonates with you. You take that and apply it to you. Because not everything in a certain book is gonna apply to you. So you take again whatever it is that you feel
Same
resonates
thing.
with you. That's what you take and you apply it.
My dad taught me that years and years ago. He told me, in every situation, look for the pearl of insight, that one thing that you can take away to make your life better. Whether it's an idea from a book, whether it's you take a class and you get one skill, whether you have an interaction with a person and they give you one idea, or even just make you smile a little bit. Those little things, if you can consistently find the pearls in the various situations, you can string them together and have an incredibly rich life.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. So you also have a podcast. It's the same. Is it the same name as the book?
Actually, I don't have a podcast because I thought about it, and it's like I
Oh, so
can have a greater
those are just
impact
you.
going on
Those,
other people's
those
podcasts and,
that's you being on other people's
reaching them.
podcasts. Oh, I thought it looked like
Yes.
had your own you had your own podcast, but no, okay. So that's you being on other
No, it's
people's
actually more
podcasts.
fun to have conversations like this because I glean so much talking with individuals like you
Oh,
and reaching out to your audience that, maybe it's a little selfish in terms of it, the return on investment that I get is better because I don't have to do production and all that. But
yeah,
I get a
that's what I was
chance
about to touch
to
on.
learn more. And so I said the net effect of it in terms of the impact is greater with me being able to serve others like this.
Oh no, I feel you. I feel you 100. I would love to be a guest on podcasts because I don't have to do all the work. I don't have to do the editing. I don't have to do none of that. I don't have to do none of the promoting. So I love when
That's
I'm a
right. I
guest.
get the Frank Sinatra thing. I just
Yeah,
show up and do what I
yeah.
do.
And that's when I'm a guest, I tell them that I say, "Yo, listen, I love being a guest because I know what it is to be on the other side and all the work you have to put into doing it. So when I'm a guest, I'm like, yeah, I'm loving it. Like, oh, thank you. I'm like, yeah, I'm loving being a guest. To me, it's one of the greatest experiences because all you have to do, like you said, is just show up. That's it.
It's one of the reasons why I love going on the road and speaking too, because I don't have to worry about, arranging you know,
Location
uh,
and all that stuff,
the
all that.
microphone. I don't have to worry about ordering the coffee. I don't have to worry about, registration and all that. I just get a chance to show on up and help people and give them something that they didn't have before.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Oh man, Joe, this has been great. I love this energy. Definitely, when I definitely come up to the capital region, we definitely got to go have a couple of beers. And but now it
Yes,
is the
sir. Yes,
time.
sir.
Now it's part of the show where you plug away. Let everybody know where they can find you and where they can find all your book, everything.
Okay, so the book is available wherever books are sold. So Barnes and Noble, Amazon, you can request it from your local bookstore, things like that. You can also my website at everyday-excellence.com, everyday-excellence.com. I recommend people go there because we put up all the podcasts. There's the links to the YouTube channel. I produce 6 microblogs per week, so real quick hits of insight that people can get. So there's a continuous stream of edutainment there, of information and insight to help people continue to unlock their own personal excellence. You can also follow me on both Twitter and Facebook. Those are both at EDE with Joe. That's at EDE for Everyday Excellence with Joe. That's me. And, hope you can find me on podcasts like this with awesome people like Wise.
Yeah, listen, this is why I truly do love podcasts is being able to speak to people like yourself that you're a regular guy. Yeah, you do some great things. You're the ultra marathon, you're a Taekwondo champion, but you're a down to earth guy. You're someone you can sit down and have a beer with, and and and
Exactly.
and, and that's what this is why I love doing this is because you get to realize that hey, people are just like you. We come from all different parts of the plate world and all different, but deep down inside a lot, we're all the same. We all want the same thing in life.
Yeah, as you said, we all put our socks and shoes on. We all came from a mother. We all live in, communities, and we all have hopes and dreams and goals for ourselves and for our kids and grandkids. So it's the sort of thing, there is more that unifies us than separates us. And if one person can do significant things, we all have that capability inside us. We just need to discover what our own greatness is,
Yeah.
and then how do we work towards it, and surrounding yourself with other people, like we said, that want to see you be the best you that you can be. That is one of the keys to long range.
No, I agree with you 100%. Everything you just said to me is true because if you surround yourself with broke people, guess what? You're gonna be broke. But
Yep.
if you surround yourself with people that want more, that strive more, that are working towards improving themselves, then you start doing that. You start applying yourself that way. You start being like, hey, listen, I see him working hard. I see him doing this, doing this, and I see him getting results. Maybe if I do that, I
Yeah.
can get results. And that's something that we tend to like we tend not to realize. It's like eh, the the people you really truly do surround yourself does have an effect on your life.
Attitude is contagious.
It
And
is.
so surround yourself with people with good attitudes, and you're going to naturally replicate some of their better tendencies, and that brings
Absolutely.
out the best in us on an individual basis. And as we said, it's not going to be an overnight thing, but if you can be just a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better, eventually that's how you become excellent.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is. Joe, man, this has been great. I love talking to you. Um, again, definitely when I get up to the capital region, we definitely got to link up and maybe you come to Schenectady and record in the studio. Definitely look forward to that.
I would love to do that, my friend. That would be awesome.
But it's the end of the I'm sorry, it's the end of the show, but now it is time for shout outs. Big shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady, Fina. I love you, baby, and appreciate all you do for me. Big shout out to our guest, Joe Templin, for coming through and showing the love and sharing the great energy that he has. And as always, a big, big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. And you know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.
Thanks for listening. Listen on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, and TuneIn. Find us on social media on Twitter at @wise_b_blunt, Instagram at @wise_b_blunt, and a Facebook fan page, www.facebook.com/wise76. Check back soon for new episodes. Until next time, peace out.